All right, everybody, thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, what really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else, and what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Charlotte Durham. Charlotte, thanks so much for taking the time. It's an honor to have you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
This is fantastic. And all the way from Bozeman, Montana. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I do want to dive into the series of questions and really give everybody an idea of who you are as a person, as a professional. I'm super excited about this one. So if you're ready, Charlotte, let's just dive in.
Yeah, let's do this. I'm ready.
Cool. So I guess let's start with the first question. Ends up being telling everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay, great. Well, I'm Charlotte. I'm up here in Bozeman, Montana. I've been in the real estate industry for about 8 years now, started in 2011.
Wow.
I started my own company, Charlotte & Co. Real Estate, a little over 3 years ago. Born and raised in Montana, I spent a few years selling real estate in Denver, but I moved back a little over 3 years ago and started my own business. So.
Love it. And having a little tie to Denver, it pulls up my heartstrings here because we're here in Colorado and in Colorado Springs. So, shout out to our Denver folks that are watching as well. And I love that fact of what's going on. But Charlotte, what was it initially into your life and your thought process of getting into real estate? What was your progression these past 9 some odd years to where you're at to today? So I guess what got you into it, why, and then where you're at today?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a construction family, so my dad's a builder, so I was always around real estate. I have to say what got me into it was thinking that real estate looked so glamorous and fun, which it is a lot of days, but a lot of days it isn't.
Well said.
I have a degree in business marketing, so I have a marketing background, and that ties a lot into real estate. So I jumped in right after college. With that background of building growing up, I really have knowledge of houses from the foundation to the finishes. So that's super helpful in everything I'm doing.
Wow.
And over the last 8 years, I started in Bozeman, went to Denver, and then ended up coming back to Bozeman, where I'm from. So it's been a great ride for sure.
I love that. And again, having the background of really the ins and outs of real estate and having that heritage, I think is extremely powerful. And that extends out to, your reputation, your clients that you service in Bozeman. So could you tell everybody a little bit about Bozeman, Montana? I've personally never been. It's on my list, but I've heard great things. So what's so great about your area?
Well, it's the fastest growing community of its size in the country right now. We have about 10 people moving here a day. So it is a booming area. It's a beautiful area. I mean, we're known for skiing, fly fishing, hiking, anything and everything outdoors. It's been kind of the topic of the news lately, Bozeman, just because there's so many people coming here and so many people wanting to be here. There's a ton of development going on. Just a bustling place to be, a beautiful bustling place to be, that's for sure.
Love it. And that's exciting. And again, an honor to have you, one of the absolute best in the business in Montana, here on the show for everybody out there to soak up and learn from. So this is awesome. I want to go into the next question. And I think this really drives people to get to know you, Charlotte, and kind of why you do what you do. So this is the why question, right? What gets you excited every day, motivated to do what you do to the level that you do it at? What's your why?
What really keeps me going and producing is the fact that what fills up my cup per se every day is helping people. I get such gratification out of helping people in it can be a very stressful time in their life, making such a huge purchase and making such a big transaction. That can be difficult. And when I'm helping people make that easier and fun and exciting, there's nothing better for me. I just love it. That keeps me going every day. I love making people happy in all parts of the transaction, getting them what they need. That really fills me up. And I'd say on the other hand, I've always been super competitive. So growing up in academics, I was always at the top of my class and always felt like I needed to be the best. And that's definitely converted over into real estate. I love being on top of all the newest in marketing technology. I love getting back to my clients. And again, I think it all just kind of goes back to helping people and giving them the best of technology or service, whatever part of the transaction it is.
I love that. And your why is so deep to me, and everybody out there who's watching or listening, they can really resonate with that. You have a servant's heart. You're obviously caring and giving about the people that are around you, that you're guiding them through this process, the biggest purchase or sale of their lives. And I think that speaks, about your character and integrity, which I think is really important. But then your other side of nature in the competitive portion, which I think is extremely healthy. A lot of real estate titans and top producers worldwide, they are competitive. And I think that it's healthy. And I think it's a good way to go about it. It's that measuring stick for all of us. So I think that's great. Keeps moving us forward for sure. So you touched on it a little bit, and I want to kind of dive into the next portion into this. You had mentioned, marketing and the digital aspect, and, it's definitely big for me and in my heart on the digital end. But I want to go into the next question when it comes down to, if you could look back at your career thus far and pick or choose one or two things that you added to your business that took it from one level to the next, what's that look like for you, Charlotte?
Yeah, that's definitely differentiation. I've always really focused on how I can be different from the others in the industry. Doesn't matter where you are in the country, there are so many real estate agents everywhere. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
focus on what I can be doing differently to stand out. And for me, that's really been my marketing background, and really staying on top of the latest in marketing technology, giving people the best possible tools when they're listing or buying. Because when I'm giving them the best possible tools, that's a direct correlation to the return on their investment. The way we're portraying a property for a client, that equals dollars right there. So that's something I've really focused on, and I think that has helped me go to the next level. And at
Okay.
the same time, back to helping people, getting people answers very quickly, giving them the education they need to make the best possible decisions.
Okay. And I think that, so what you stated there, I think is beautiful, is being on the bleeding or cutting edge with the tools and systems that are going to really propel the transaction to a higher level, and to separate yourself from so many different competitors that are doing so many of the same types of things, but it's not true. And I think that that's a beautiful add into that. Charlotte, you wouldn't mind diving a little deeper on that and giving, because this is one of the crowd pleasers of this particular series. They want to learn from the Titans and how they've grown and scaled their business that way. Is there any, I don't want to say secret sauce, but is there any big takeaways for anybody that they can look at to implement today if they're watching or listening? Like, hey, I want to do it like Charlotte's done. What would you say to a newer professional or even a seasoned one to kick it up with technology?
Well, I think a lot of the time when agents take listings, they just think I'm going to get some photos done and throw them up on the internet. But what we have to remember is we're not just selling a home, we're selling a lifestyle, right?
Yes.
So people, when they're looking, they need to understand that. Whether you're implementing video into your listings, which I highly suggest, or just giving it people an overall feel, not just where the property sits on the piece of land, what's around it, what's the town look like, where are the close by amenities, what's the whole feeling of the entire property is really going to change how it comes across.
I love that. And just so anybody out there, I mean, I've seen some of your videos and they're absolutely phenomenal. I feel like I'm hanging out with you, first of all, but you're doing a beautiful job of showcasing that lifestyle as you discussed. Very few professionals, in my opinion, are doing this on large scale. You'll see a top percentile in your profession that are really doing it right. So anybody out there who's watching or listening and you want some great background into really how it's done, you got to follow Charlotte, on Instagram, check out her website, things along those lines. I'll have links in the comments down below so that you can follow and almost spy a little bit on what, a true professional is doing, which I think is great. I think it's a really good thing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, for sure. It's an honor for sure to go all the way through this. So I want to shift gears into this particular portion, and this is the tricky part of this interview. It ends up being the challenge question. I always lead into it with the Titans, discussing that we all have challenges in our lives, whether it's in the past, now, or into the future. No one's exempt. Whether it's a personal challenge, very deep, to a business challenge that it can also be very affecting. We really feel that at the end of the day, it's not what happens, but how we respond, what we learn, and what we can grow and share. So, Charlotte, if you're comfortable, sharing a challenge or two that you dealt with, whether it's personally or professionally, that you learned from, that you grew from, that everybody else can learn from and grow from as well. What's that look like for you?
Gosh, we all have our list of challenges that we have dealt with, and it's all relative to each situation. I think the fact that I moved a lot when I was growing up. So I was always kind of starting over, making new friends, and having to step out of my comfort zone. And I think that was really good for me because it's taught me to roll with the punches in business. Things do not usually go how you planned, and you always have to figure it out most of the time on the fly. So I think just moving and making new friends was really good for me. And then on the other part, I moved to Denver where I didn't know anyone and got jumped into real estate there. So that was tough, but it made me strong, and it made me step out of my comfort zone and meet people that I never met before. So I think that moving a lot throughout my life has made me tough, and that's what you got to be. You got to be tough, and work hard at anything you're doing in order to succeed.
That's such a good add and share that way, Charlotte. And for everybody out there that has moved around a lot, whether you're military or not, it's difficult. It's difficult to cultivate relationships and maintain a reputation and grow that, especially in real estate. Like you said, it's like starting over. But correct me if I'm wrong, Charlotte, but you wouldn't be the person you are today without all that challenge and change and adversity, right? I mean,
That's so true. It's taught me so much about how to stay strong throughout different situations and get creative when things don't work out the way you wanted them to. There always has to be a plan B, and you always have to fight to do the best thing for your client. And that's something I've always strived to do.
Wow. And I love it. And think about that too, is all you've accomplished and your reputation and what you do is actually phenomenal and impeccable. And again, I'm glad you moved around the way you did, because here you are. So this is perfect. So everybody take that away, no matter what challenge you're dealing with or what's going on, you can really learn and grow from it and become the best version of yourself. So I really appreciate you sharing. Not easy to do. But I want to go into the next question, slightly softer, if that's all right. So we made it through the tough stuff. But when it comes down to it, this is my favorite question of the series. It's the travel back in time question. So, Charlotte, if you could look back at your life and give your younger self a piece of advice or two at any age range, any time frame, whether it's personal, professional, whether it's just funny, would young Charlotte even listen? What would you say to your younger self?
That's a great question. I would definitely say to trust the process.
Wow.
I think anyone that's succeeding at something, there's days where you think, oh, maybe I should just throw in the towel. This isn't working. But to just keep your head down, keep doing the daily activities that are getting you to your larger goal, and trust the process. I see a lot of people that jump into real estate, like I said, because it seems glamorous and fun, which a lot of days it is, but a lot of days it isn't.
Right.
But you have to stick with it. It's not something that you can just jump into and succeed at immediately. I've been at it for, like I said, 8 years now. So I would definitely tell my younger self to trust the process, get there. But then again, there's not really a destination. You have to enjoy the journey as you go. The journey is what it's all about. There's never really an end point. So I would definitely tell my younger self to just enjoy the process too, because the process is most of what we're going to be doing for our lives. So we might as well be doing something we love.
I love that advice. And again, that resonates not just with young Charlotte, but everybody who's watching or listening, and myself included. I think that's enjoying the process and the journey. It's some of us in nature of overly competitive or ultra competitive or really wanting to be 10 steps ahead. We're trying to rush through, get to the next step, get to the next goal. But it's all those little things throughout our life that really make us who we are, as we pre-discussed, and really just enjoy that, because you're never going to get that time back. It's with your friends and your family and relationships that you have. It's very important. I think that's huge advice. We all need a spoon of that, take it, and for sure.
Yeah, and to celebrate the small victories. I think we get so caught up in the next thing that we forget to sometimes look back and be like, wow, if you would have told my younger self that I was going to be doing all these things, she'd be really impressed. So we need to make sure we're celebrating those small victories as we go.
Oh gosh, this is everybody soaking this up. I'm loving this energy. It's so good, and it's really really applicable and used. I mean, this is really really good stuff, Charlotte. So I do want to go on to the next crowd pleaser of this particular series. It's the feeding of the mind question. So a lot of the subscribers and viewers of this particular series, they want to know what the Titans are really doing to feed their mind. So I always lead into it with books, podcasts, influencers. Charlotte, how are you feeding your mind?
That's a great question. And there's so many amazing books and podcasts and influencers out there. I think it can feel a little overwhelming to a lot of people. Where do I even start?
Right.
So I've really focused on a series of books that I read over and over. The Jen Sincero You Are a Badass book.
Very cool.
It totally puts me in the right mindset every day. I reread them all the time. I read a few pages of You Are a Badass every day, right in the morning when I'm getting going. It just, like I said, puts me in the right mindset. And it's more of a realistic approach. She's funny. It's not super serious, but it's just real life advice. And, it's pretty common stuff, but it's stuff you're like, oh, I just don't think about that enough. So it definitely puts me in the right mindset every day. I highly suggest those books for anyone, no matter what industry you're in, what place in your life you're in. They're applicable to everyone.
Love it.
And then in terms of influencers, I love Ryan Serhant. I just finished reading Sell It Like Serhant. He's amazing. I think he's really good about showing people in the real estate industry how hard he works and how hard you need to work to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
He's great. You can follow him on Instagram. He has great videos he comes out with. And if you're getting into real estate, especially if you're brand new, I highly suggest his book, Sell It Like Serhant. I wish that would have been around when I jumped into the industry.
Come on, Ryan. What's going on? That should have been out years ago. Shout out to Ryan if you're watching or listening, by the way. But I think that's what I love initially about what you're talking about is reading and then rereading, Charlotte. I think that's so applicable for so many people out there. There's a lot of professionals that they read a book or they listen to an audio book or a podcast one time and they never apply anything and they just kind of let it collect dust on a shelf. And it's really they're not meant to just be read once and left alone. It's not a fictional story. It's something that should be a guideline or a reminder. And I love that you said that. You're rereading these books and they inspire you every day. And there should be more of us that find those books that really touch you and motivate you, read them over and over and over again. Because as we evolve in our lives, I think that's a really good advice is you're going to read it 1 year, put it down for a year or so, maybe a few months. You're a different person as time goes on. Do you know what I mean?
And there's different things that are popping up in your life. Some parts will be more applicable to your situation than others, and they might be super applicable when you reread it a year later. They're just great books. I recommend them for anyone, especially for people that don't like your typical self-help book that's kind of serious.
Right.
Real life, funny books that good for anyone.
Huge. I love it. And again, picking it up from other top tier professionals. I mean, Ryan's out of New York, $1 million listing on Bravo, that sort of thing. So it's definitely one of those things where I love the fact that you're reaching outside of your element directly from Montana and you're looking elsewhere. There's wonderful professionals in your city and state, I'm sure, but there's so much out there. So hopefully to encourage everybody to look outside of your current city or state and really learn from other top tier professionals and pick or choose things to go through. I think that's great advice all the way through and through.
Yeah, and that's so true to be looking out elsewhere. I owe a lot of my time in Denver to my success coming back here to Montana. I learned so much about not only marketing technology, but moving at a very rapid pace and negotiating when there's tons of multiple offers coming in. And I got to bring that back home and implement that here, which has been great.
I love it. Charlotte, this is just packed full of awesome information. And again, as always, everybody, I'm going to have links in the comments down below so you can follow and feed your mind the same way that Charlotte's doing. Charlotte, again, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story and your whys and all this compelling data for top producers to really take away and go and grow. I want to finish this interview up with one final question.
Okay.
And that question ends up being the quote or mantra that you might live by that sums you up as a professional, as a person. What's that look like for you, Charlotte?
Yeah, that's great. I love the Confucius quote that is choose a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Ah,
Um, that one is
awesome.
great for me, and I feel really fortunate that I am doing what I love and I don't feel like I'm going to a job every day. It doesn't necessarily feel like a job to me. I love helping people, but I should say that doesn't mean that there won't be tough days.
Right.
I call it eating the frog, doing the thing you don't really want to do, that's uncomfortable right when your day starts out, get it over with. But as the years go by, if you put in the work, it really will become something that doesn't feel like a job if you're in the right career for you. You know,
Hmm.
I'm still really lucky that I get to love what I do every day and help people through huge transitional parts in their life.
Oh, that's awesome. And to me, that's such a beautiful quote. And I think it sums you up amazingly, Charlotte. So again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. It was an honor to have you. Everybody, thank you so much for your time and attention, your love and support. As always, if you do like what we're doing here, Real Estate Titans, don't forget to throw a like on Facebook, subscribe to YouTube, and have a listen on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcast. I do want to say, Charlotte, you are an official Real Estate Titan, so thanks you so much. This is awesome. And everybody will catch you on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans every Tuesday and Friday afternoon. Take care.